Hey everybody, it's Brittany. Today I kind of want to go over a common theme I see with a lot of my students. A lot of the times I'll ask them, how is your singing been doing? Have you been, practicing? And I swear like 9 times out of 10, people will say no, they didn't practice. I feel like the number one most common reason people don't practice is because they have like a relative or parents or a roommate in their same house and they don't want to practice in front of them. I would love for my students to practice, but I can understand, you're practicing something vulnerable. You don't want to make a mistake. You don't want, people to judge you. A lot of the times I'll tell my students, well, there's a few things you can do without actually singing, and that would be considered practice. So I'm gonna go over a few things today on how you can improve your singing without even putting out a single note. So number 1, breathing. You can always practice your breathing. We're breathing all day, every day. So it's not a weird thing if people see you breathing, but it depends on how we're breathing. If you've been around the block, taken a few singing lessons, or if you're in choir, or you just do, whatever, research, I don't know. You've heard about your diaphragm. So your diaphragm is the muscle that contracts to draw in oxygen into your lungs. And a lot of the times you'll probably hear a vocal coach or a choir director telling you, breathe from your diaphragm. It is so important. If you're not too familiar with your diaphragm, all you have to do is stick your hands right under or like right here. Well, it's kind of like in the middle of like that curve of the rib cage. And you want to put your hands there and you want to breathe in and out. You're gonna feel that expand and contract, right? And that's pretty much all you have to do. You have to train yourself to breathe from your diaphragm rather than, when you're normally breathing, usually you see your chest rising. We don't want that. So I always tell my students, I want to see you guys getting bigger than thinner. I don't want to see any of this. That's where you're going to be breathing from your chest, right? You're not going to get a lot of air in like that. And so I want you to be feeling it expanding right at your core. And this is something you can do literally any time of the day. You just have to be aware of how you're breathing. You want to see that diaphragm moving. And a lot of the times, the best time in my opinion to test this out is when you're about to sleep or you're waking up in the morning, because you're lying down and that's when you can really feel it. Just test it out, you'll see. So that's one way you can improve without actually singing, because it's going to be super important that you're breathing with your diaphragm, and eventually the goal is to kind of make it second nature. So why not? I would rather you practice something that's going to be beneficial to singing rather than not practice at all. So that's one way to do it. Number 2 is kind of a weird one, but it is beneficial, is going to be your larynx placement. So the larynx is kind of like, it's that muscle that's around your vocal cords. So whenever you see you're swallowing, you see movement here, that's your larynx. Whenever you're breathing in or like doing a low yawn, you see that go down. So this is another thing you can practice, is controlling that larynx, because a lot of the times when you're, for example, singing a high note, sometimes you might crack, and it's because you're practically choking yourself by stressing your neck muscles and your larynx. You're gonna be like all tense here. You're not gonna be able to get anything out. So what I would suggest is kind of getting familiar with it. So when you are singing and you do end up taking your lesson or in choir, you can apply it. So what I would suggest is kind of get used to seeing it go up and down. It looks weird. I mean, you can do this in the bathroom, close the door, you can look in the mirror and just kind of watch your larynx go up and down. So see, super easy, no noise, but it's gonna be helpful when you're singing a song and you have to kind of keep a nice centered larynx. You don't want it to, high up in position or low. You want it nice and relaxed and center. So you'll know, okay, well, right now I'm up here. I need to bring it more center rather than up. Weird, I know, but it helps. The third thing is gonna be something that literally you're probably already doing. I know I do it. Then again, it's kind of my job. The third thing is listening to other singers. Yeah, you're probably like, oh, well, I listen to, I put on my Spotify every day and listen to music all the time, of course. But do you really listen? Do you really listen? Jokes aside, it's like, are you kind of listening with a audience ear or a singer ear? Really listen with a singer's ear. So for example, what makes Freddie Mercury different than Billie Eilish? There's a lot, right? There's a huge difference. But what about it? What about it is different? So a lot of the times I'll tell my student, pick one song or two songs or something, and then not only listening, but watching. So if there's any kind of live performances, raw performances, those are the best because you can really see what they're doing with their mouth and their body and their breathing and everything. You can really get the full scope of what they're doing, right? For example, if they're singing slow song or a nice sentimental song, how does their mouth look? Is it like this? Or is it kind of more like this? Chances are it's probably gonna be like this rather than. Yeah, doing these little things, then you're gonna kind of think about, okay, well, when I sing a song, how is it looking? How is it sounding? Does it sound warm and open? Probably chances are we're gonna have to open here and open the back to give it that warm sound. It's helpful to try and replicate it. I wouldn't say base your entire style off of it, but just so you can kind of discover, what sounds best for you or what creates this sound and how can you apply it to your own song. But yeah, you can do that without singing. It's a little harder, but you can do it. Those are 3 things that you can do in the comfort of your home when the entire family is over and you really don't want to sing in front of anybody. Those are things you can do without having to sing at all. Yes, to fully improve, you're gonna have to practice. But if you really are feeling like you really can't and you do want to improve and you're making the steps, like those itty bitty steps to being more confident, then There you go, 3 things. So the breathing, the larynx placement, and then the analyzing music as or with a singer's ear. Well, I hope you guys can apply this into your own practice. Tell me what you think. Tell me what you want to know. I'd love to hear it. You can check out my website. It's completevoicemakeover.com. I do lessons, hour lessons, group lessons, and vocal diagnostics. So check me out. I will see y'all later.